if I could go back in time to myself in high school, I would push myself even harder. Um, you can never work too hard. like you can never work too hard.
Encore, what have you created?
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Modeling Pod Narratives Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jordan Flowers. We're here with my boy Jacob Hill in the building and Trey Mosley here back for another episode of Season 3, Season of Separation. How we doing today, fellas?
I'm doing good, bro. Just been running around trying to
Man,
gather myself, this recovery Sunday, you
bro.
know how that goes. That's always. I'm recovering
No,
from
tell us what
life.
we
I'm not,
are you recovering from
no,
life?
I'm not, like, there wasn't anything that I need to recover from. I'm just recovering from life, the always running around throughout the week and then
Nah,
having some adult beverages on the weekends. You know how that goes.
nah,
But
I know how that goes. I'm
we're chilling though. Just
chilling. That's good
always
to hear, man.
relax on Sunday.
Absolutely, man. Hell, checking in with you, bro. How we doing? Before we introduce our guests, I got to make sure everybody doing smooth. It's been a little while before we been back on, on camera. So how we doing?
I'm doing good. I drank responsibly this weekend and made sure to get some good sleep and enjoyed enjoyed my holiday weekend, relax a little bit, watching football, the usual.
Get into the episode today, man. We have a great guest. Speaking of drinking responsibly, the first story I'm gonna introduce with him is this guy had me on my official visit, bro. And I remember seeing him, bro, by the way, from the 402, my guy. But I remember, like, what did he have? I think he had a 4 for 4, and he took it down with, I think, a natty light, bro, with the 4 for 4. I want to say you did, bro. But my guy, man, yeah, I believe so. I believe so. But we got a special guest in the building, my man, Brook Bolles from Lincoln, Nebraska. 2019 Harlan Hill finalist, which is the D2 Heisman. Good guy, man. So welcome my mans to the stage. Yes, indeed. Good to have you, brother.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely. Do
Yes,
you
sir.
remember
Yes,
that?
sir.
That do you remember that official visit by any
This
chance?
I do.
so-called.
I think it was some Bush Lights. I think it was some Bush lattes.
Was it Bush?
Okay.
Okay,
I
my
think
fault.
it
My
was.
fault. My fault. That's my fault. That's my fault on that.
At one
But
time, it was the Natty Lights.
that was okay. That was like that was before I had our little checks and our refund checks that came in. So we was able to
Yeah,
upgrade the Bush. Yeah, I
yeah.
got you. I got you, man. But thank you so much for being on. I want to start this interview a little bit lighthearted though. So we had a couple episodes where, we, reminiscing about UCM, kind of the things that's going on, and we have like our little funny moments. So I want to start off with this. Give me one Coach Mac story that you are willing to share with us. I mean, it could be motivational, it could be funny. And for the people that don't know, Coach Mac was our QB coach, but dude is just hilarious. He's from the 402 with us. Do you have a Coach Mac story that you can share with us?
Gosh, I mean, there's plenty to share that are some good stories with Mac, but I mean, I think one of my favorite ones is when we put in
Remember that?
Q Pine when he had the entire offense out. When he played the Family Feud episode because he thought it was the funniest video ever. But that was our play design was like talking about that Family Feud episode. And I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but they're telling this guy to finish a sentence or finish the end of the word, and the beginning of the word is pork. And everyone's saying like pork chop, pork loin, and this guy says cupine as in like porcupine. And it's just like one of the funniest Family Feud skits, I swear. But yeah, they put it up, and that's one of our plays. But that's just Mac. I don't know, he's very cultured. He's watches a bunch of movies, and I don't know. That's just the way he is. But yeah, that's a funny story there from Mac. Him just getting the biggest kick out of that Cupine video.
I remember like one of our installs, man. Like I wouldn't even say one of our installs. I think all of the installs per se. We were like going back and forth between like certain signals. Bro, what was it? Was the like we would sit there like maybe on like install day, and if we're putting in a new install, we might go the route of like, okay, Jordan, come up with a signal, because at that time I was doing signals only,
Yeah.
and like just bro, like the Joker, like
Oh
it was
yeah,
just
the
so fun being in
Joker.
that. Yep, you remember that? Yep, you remember the Joker that came in, and like doing the little jig that me and Jeremy did. But I remember like one that brought me and Hell together, bro. Is, and I'll share this before we move on. Is, so we are both hurt at this time. I don't know if I shared this with you, Brooke, but like we're both hurt at the time, and Coach Matt comes over to me and Hell, and he's like, yo, like, did you hear about those new cookies that came out? And of course, this is pre fit Hell. Like he doing his little thing now, but he was like, no, like what cookie? Like what's the flavor? He was like, the soft bake kind. And like Hell was like, I don't think he got it at the time, but he was basically calling it soft. But Hell was like so intrigued by like, oh, he's like, oh, like I'm really intrigued by these cookies, bro. So bro, like Coach Mac was a dude. Like he was a great, first and foremost, bro. Like one of the best offensive minds I've ever been around in terms of like a QB
Hmm.
coach. But
Oh
man, he
yeah.
was such a character,
Yep.
man. So I want to get into before we shift into Trey and Hale's questions. I want to get in a little bit into the beginning, right? One of the things that kind of stood out about you from the jump was just your overall overzealous kind of passion for the game of football. And you could kind of see like you had that passion and enjoyment every time you stepped out on the field. Can you tell us a little about where that come from? Like where do you get that attribute of this love and this joy in this game of football? And did that come from family? Did that come from just being around the game? Just tell us a little bit about how that came about.
I think I think it's a little bit of both of those. I think it's obviously, I had my brothers play at Northwest. Um, my my friends and family growing up always thought we'd play baseball just because my dad was our baseball coach in high school. He played college baseball, but then everybody kind of transitioned into football. And once they kind of made their decision to move further in college, and then I saw their success with football, it really started that drive into me that I want to be better than they were. Whether that happened or not, that was always my mindset growing up. Is I wanted to, like everyone was, are you going to Northwest? Are you going to follow the footsteps? And I was like, honestly, no. I kind of want to do my own thing. Want to make my own name for myself. And the other thing is my mom, bless her heart, she named all of us bees and a lot of us BR names. And so it's just like, she'd call you every name before she actually called you your own. And so that was another reason for
Right.
me wanting to go somewhere else, is just not having them call me Blake or Brady. Um, and so that is another reason for my drive with it. But the other thing is being around the game, being around all the great people you meet, all the relationships you have. And people see the touchdowns and the first downs and the great plays on Saturdays and Thursday nights and stuff, but they don't see the behind the scenes, the blood, sweat, tears that you have with your brothers. And that's the other
Mhm.
reason for my drive. It's just like going out there knowing that I'm going to give it my all because the guy next to me is going to do the same. And so that's football is just such a special sport. And that is why I just love it so much, because like I said, people see the great plays, they see all the highlights, but they don't see that stuff behind the scenes. And that's why I love like Hard Knocks. Oh my God, that's such a
Yeah.
great show just because
Great,
like
great series.
I resonate with
Love
it
Hard
so
Knocks.
much. Yeah. Um sponsor us Hard Knocks. But no, yeah, that's really the biggest reasons behind it is family, and then the brotherhoods that you bond throughout your time playing football. I mean, from little league stuff all the way college and beyond. That's the true, or my true love for the game. That's where it comes from.
Yeah, and it's actually very interesting that you say that. A little bit on my background, I was kind of in a similar situation, but just on the high school level. All my brothers, I'm the youngest in my group, and they all play football. So it was the idea when I came into high school, I was going to play football, right?
Hmm.
And then they all went to Illinois State. So in their head, I was going to go to Illinois State, and I felt the same way. Is I felt like I was good in my own way, but I always felt like I was going to be overshadowed only because I had older brothers who did it
Hmm.
first, right? And funny enough, even beyond that, is that me and all my siblings have the same initials. So I get what you're saying. Your mom's going to say about 10,000 names before they get to your name, right? If they
Yep.
get to it at all. So I
Exactly. That's what I
definitely
was just
understand.
gonna say. If they get to it at all.
But um, into sports in general, and why I think it's so cool, especially to start young, is the character building aspect of it. So not everyone has brothers or just a bigger family that me and you were blessed with. And to a degree, you have to character build with all the people around you on that team. Everyone's coming in from different cultures, different backgrounds,
Mhm.
different ways of life, and you have to merge together to form some cohesive unit to play, right?
Mhm.
So I guess my question for you, outside of your older brothers, as you were playing football or whatever sport you were playing, what were some things that you learned along the way, just communicating and talking with your fellow teammates and forming that bond together?
No, I mean, yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I think the biggest thing with that is just understanding that everybody's different with how they, like you said, everybody comes from different backgrounds, different, different cultures, different religions, whatever it may be. So you got to learn how to communicate with those people. Whether it's, they mess up and you get on their, you get on their ass about it. Like that's great. Some people are like that, but some people need like the positive reinforcement just by, words rather than, you getting on them and chewing them out. Some people are more behind the scenes and, some people lead by not saying anything and just being first at every sprint or, the
Right.
strongest
Just
in the
those guys
weight
that just
room.
go do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And I think that's really the biggest thing of how to build that cohesive bond is to know that everybody's different and figure out the ways that communicating with them best or working with them the best. I mean, some of those off-season workouts that we did, some of the best teams I was on in the off seasons when they split us up into teams were teams that just shut up and did the work.
Right. Absolutely.
Guys that were, talking crap every time. It was guys that just shut up. Like one of the biggest things we talked about in that 19th season was we wanted the guys that brought their lunch pails. You know what I mean? Like you bring your
Yeah.
lunchbox to work and you get to work, you don't say anything. You tie your boots up tight, bring your lunch pail, and you go to work. And
Mhm.
that's the difference in everything is you got to know if somebody likes to be yelled at, if that's what really jumpstarts them, or if somebody needs to be talked to, on the side or by themselves. And yeah, everybody's different. I mean, some people are outgoing, some people don't say anything. It's just one of those things where you gotta know your teammates and your fellow brothers in that aspect.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely agree with you on that one because I feel like through sports and through all the different teams we've been on, those are like you just always figure out how you're going to be able to communicate with all those people, and especially since you play quarterback, you know this that you have to be able to coach, basically be the coach on the field. You're the
Hmm.
guy who's telling everybody what to do, motivating them, being someone that they come to for help, assistance, things like that. And that kind of helps you with all of your communication skills in your life too, as well.
Hmm.
Which, and once you're building and learning how to communicate with people, and that grows you into becoming a leader and all those things, that helps you in the real world with jobs and transitioning. That's why, like, how we've all played football since we were so young. I really think that like builds us all up and allowed us to have a bigger character and allowed us to be able to go in a room and be able to talk to all these different people.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, I want to get into something that, I mean, piggybacking kind of off of Trey and what he was talking about. Obviously, we knew how talented you were on the football field. Like, I think the passion is one thing, but I mean, it is a big game of chess, right? Particularly at the, us, me, you, and Trey playing quarterback. Like, it's a higher level of thinking, right? You have to make split second decisions, bro, whether that's pre snap, that's after, that's post snap, reading defenses, telltale signs of what's going on, being able to shift the protection, depending on where the blitz is coming from. All those little nuanced things that people don't understand that's really going on within the game, and having to
Hmm.
make those like split seconds of reaction. So, um, beyond that, like you had an incredible feel. And I was just talking to Shay about this actually this past weekend. We were talking about that quarterbacks have. Like either you got it, like everybody has that it in the position, but you have to have that it as a quarterback to excel. And it's really, really hard to explain. But one of the things I was impressed by you is your intellect and your IQ and that ability to kind of retain information, read the defense and make quick adjustments, whether that's, when we were in on the board in Coach Mack's office and being able to tear it like apart, knowing the ins and outs of everything, not only our offense, what they're going to run to counter that and then countering that. Like it was really, really cool for me as a young person to kind of sit back and see that. So my question to you is, how did you develop this vision and intellect for not only the position, but the game of football in its purest form?
I mean, honestly, Mac was a big sculptor of that. Um, my knowledge of the game was not crazy high when I came to UCM, and Lambo was actually the OC and quarterbacks coach at the time, my freshman year, and then he left, and that's when Mac came in. I contribute that to Mac. Countless hours of us, studying in the film room. I would get there before I would have my 8 a.m. class, and we'd already have an hour and a half, 2 hours of film, and then
Mm-hmm.
like full game Friday, every
Mm-hmm.
Friday. You know what I mean? We watch one game from the opposing team's season. Where we just watch nothing but their defense that whole day. Um, but that was what was really a big factor in my knowledge. And I've said it before, but I truly believe that when I, tore that ligament in my elbow, my throwing elbow, and I had to take my medical red shirt, that was actually the biggest blessing in disguise. My knowledge of the game at that point was good, but not great, and kind of taking that year off completely, and just seeing everything I say from a coach's perspective, because I was on the sideline. I had nothing to do with the offense whatsoever, besides maybe just me being on the headset in Mac's ear. That was it. Like saying, maybe we
Right.
need to take a shot here, but that's either his choice or not. I mean, I'm just a fly on the wall at that point. But that was a big thing for me, is having that whole year off and seeing it from the coach's eyes, seeing what we may need to work on in the off season, what we do great and what we don't do so great, because we were a young team that year. Granted, we had
Mm-hmm.
the guys that were in my class, that did graduate on the offensive end, but that was a Bears senior year. But then we had Zach right behind him, who got playing time that year, and Zach was great. And then
Great.
we had Kirion at receiver that
Mm-hmm.
year, and right behind him was Shea, who played that year. So it's like we
Man.
had guys that were coming in behind him that were really young and that were good. But it was just seeing some of that behind the scenes on that year that I was hurt. It really also helped my knowledge, just because, it was an extra year that I was in the film room. I was going over plays, defenses, everything with Mac and you guys. And so I mean, it was countless hours, that kind of helped that knowledge of the game, and just understanding, like you said, where we are protected against certain blitzes. What routes work good against this coverage. Just everything in between with the game of football. Mac really helped me out with that, and I mean, just expanded my overall knowledge of the game completely.
Absolutely. And before Hale gets into his question, I want to say something that was like, I wouldn't call it funny because like in the moment it was not funny, bro, at all. But
Hmm.
so you remember Hale, do you remember NASCAR by chance? Let me
Yeah, I
see if he
remember.
remembers.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So like there was a segment I came from a pro style offense. So I did a lot of power ISO. So like coming into UCM was very like particularly how detail oriented we were, like it was very intimidating. I never had to really read a defense. I was always super athletic. So that like kind of overcompensated for me having to do anything really, any pre-snap or post-snap kind of like things. But I remember not only on the board, like we don't have enough time to go over all my many stories of failures on the board, but I remember my first NASCAR series. We were in practice, and obviously you win, one formation, and you're calling the plays. And so I remember sitting back, and I think it was I counted out between you, KB, can't remember who else was in front of me that year, when I wasn't hurt, and I was like, okay, they got 5 plays. So this whole time, I'm like, bro, what are 5 plays in this formation? I don't care what order they in, bro. Do I know 5 plays in this formation? And bro, like that period was like the most nerve-wracking kind of thing because you're like, you don't want to mess up. So you obviously you go with the Rio, you go with the Lima. Let me see if I remember any. I mean, you go with the double rubs, you go with your, all of that type of stuff like Zygo. Um, and what was so cool is like I got to see though, like from you, I'm like, okay, this is where I do want to get to because obviously I'm calling the base plays. I mean, I'm a freshman, but it was cool that I got to see like from your perspective how you were able to in a condensed setting how the routes were changing or being able to
Hmm.
still run still run the plays but out of different formations and different landmarks. So it just we're getting to the
Hmm.
same spot but it's just a different route. And so, bro,
Yeah.
like it was, I wanted you to know that, like, bro, for me, that was the most, like, as a freshman, that was the most intimidating thing ever was that NASCAR series, bro. I had to
Oh
let you know,
yeah.
like, I was scared, bro, to call them plays for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the NASCAR series definitely gets your heart pumping, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I wanted to make sure you guys explain NASCAR because again, we all played on the same team, but not everyone 100% knows. So just real quick, what is the NASCAR series?
So our NASCAR, like we normally don't huddle at all. Everyone has a wristband, and basically we get our plays from the sideline. Read off that number from the wristband. Um, the NASCAR is our up tempo. We're calling it on the field. The quarterback's calling out formation, protection, routes, run, whatever it is for the play. The quarterback's signaling all that on the field. So I mean, we're really trying to get up and go. It's usually, if we're down by, a touchdown or two late, we're trying to get a quick score, or if it's something before halftime, we'll do NASCAR as well, trying to get in the field goal range or score a touchdown before the half. But that's what our NASCAR was, is just our up tempo, no huddle offense, calling it on the field.
Yep. Yeah, so basically 2-minute offense, the famous Tom Brady, Peyton Manning before half. You call the plays, get us
Yeah.
to the end zone type of things,
Yep.
of course. One thing you did mention on there with uh, dealing with an injury and then you actually finding the good out of it and you being able to learn the offense better and able to push that forward. So we do have an episode about that. We call it compound interest. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead and check it out. But in that episode, that was basically our logic is that with anything good or anything bad that happens in your life, you can make it end up being a positive just based off of your mindset. So something bad can happen, but if you decide that with that bad situation, you're going to make the most out of it, it's rarely ever going to stay bad. It's usually going to end up being a positive in hindsight for whatever that is. me personally, obviously with my knee injuries that I had to go through, during the time they were terrible and it was unfortunate. But looking back in hindsight, there was so much I gained through those injuries and having to go through that mentally within myself, development in myself and what that brought to me. So definitely with your example and just with all the viewers, with anything that happens, always try to make the best out of it because you never know where that's going to take you and what that can do for you. And then for a question for you, it's not every day we get to be with such a star QB and able to talk to them.
Yeah, he's not
So
washed up.
for
He
the
still
viewers
got it.
out
He still
there,
got
Yeah, right.
for viewers out there that are playing QB or are still playing football and want to get some type of advantage, want to get some type of edge, what's some general advice that you would give to them for the QB position in terms of trying to pick up plays, trying to read defenses, or you could just make it in terms of workouts? What were workouts that were pretty effective for you or mindsets that you had going in the games that really helped you out on the field?
Hone in on your skills. Whatever you do good, keep working at it. Obviously don't cut back on that, but figure out what your weaknesses are. If it's arm strength, work on stuff that's going to help with arm flexibility, that's going to be able to let you whip your arm faster so that you can have a stronger arm. Work on shoulder strengthening stuff. Buys, tries are obviously good, but you need to work everything on top of that with your forearms, wrists, shoulders, work on exterior, interior rotation stuff that's going to help with, your rotator cuff, everything in there. But then the other thing is, like I said, focus on those weaknesses so that you can improve those. Whether that's, I'm not strong enough, so you get in the weight room more. Whether it's I'm not quick enough, you get out there, do, 3-cone drill, pro I, whatever it may be, work at it. And then as far as the knowledge part goes, you got to study. I mean, it's as weird as it sounds. Watch film. There's so much that you can pick up on little things. My favorite thing to do when I watch film, and that was the easiest way for me to break down simple tendencies on defenses, is basically take a screen, like a mental screenshot right before the snap. See where they're looked at. See if you can see, if they're too high, if one safety slightly rolled a little bit more, and then play it for a second or two, pause it again, see what changed. See if they are blitzing, because if they're blitzing, there's probably going to be some sort of tendency in there, whether it's the lines shifted a certain way or if it's the linebackers at different levels. Maybe one's kind of got a staggered
it.
stance, like he's going to blitz. But that's the other thing of expanding your knowledge of the game, because once you figure out what the defense is doing, it makes the offense way easier, because then you're just reacting to the defense and it puts you in the advantage. So that's my biggest thing, is just knowing your strengths and weaknesses and trying to, improve those every single day, whether it's one thing a day or it's 10 things a day. I couldn't tell you how many times after practice receivers wanted to go, catch, and my arm was tired. But I said, you know what, I'll throw 10 passes to each of them, 5 passes to each of them, something simple. But each one of those passes, I'm working on putting it in a certain place. And that's another thing that young quarterbacks don't really think about. And what I love that Mac and Coach Boda did is they talked about having a target in mind and aim small, miss small. You know what I mean? Like we had the Nike jersey, or the Nike on our jerseys. That was a big thing, is you aim for that. You know what I mean? Or you just go around the clock. Simple stuff. Aim, tell your partner you're playing catch with, aim for 3 o'clock. Okay, going to 3 o'clock. I want to throw right there. It's just simple stuff like that to help you improve. And it, like I said, it can be 10 passes at the end of a practice. It's something to get you better each day. Um, and that, like I said, it could be physical, it could be mental, of just watching more film. But that would be some of my biggest things to help out young quarterbacks. Um, yeah, just expand your knowledge, figure out your strengths and weaknesses and expand on those, and really work. If I could go back in time to myself in high school, I would push myself even harder. You can never work too hard. like
Yeah.
you
Right.
can never work too hard. And that's the other thing. Like, love the little stuff. I mean, jogging from drill to drill, little stuff. It's gonna just it's gonna hold you more accountable, but then it's gonna make you better in turn as well.
And to add on to what Brooke is saying, one of the things me and you, Hell, have talked about even like in previous episodes is double down on what you know works, right? So, and I think that this is a point in time, and I think it's two parts of this when it comes to the QB position. One, you have to have a level of self awareness of who you are and who you're not. Like, I knew my frame. I'm more athletic. I know I have a decent size arm. Like Brooke, we had kind of similar traits. No, I have a decent. I wasn't going to have a cannon, right? I wasn't going to have like a Jeremy or a KB cannon. That's not how I was built. So how can I still be an effective quarterback? Like, the point is that, like, okay, what I can make up in terms of arm strength is anticipation, right? I can't. I might not be able to get it there quickly and like be able to, like, Josh Allen can kind of fit it into small windows and be late, and it doesn't. Well, it kind of hurting him right now, but that's a conversation for another day. But I don't have the arm strength to do that, so I have to know there's a self awareness that has to come about that I have to know, and I have to be better on the mental side of things. The same thing with Tom Brady. He didn't have a great arm, but he was able to put balls at the right place at the right time because he knew what was happening, right? So you have to have a level of self awareness. And I'm kind of mentoring a little QB at Central. He's having a good year, and he's a sophomore, so he kind of reminded me of myself because I was a sophomore when I first started. And one of the things I'm hammering to him is like, be confident in what you see. Like, particularly at that level, like they're not tricking you. Like what
Mhm.
they ain't nobody
No,
roll into
yeah.
any coverages or anything. Like, so this is a perfect, and I'm telling him this is a perfect time. There's a lot more resources in terms of quarterback coaching. We didn't really have that. So they
Mhm.
get a lot more, but I'm trying to tell them, okay, you want to take your game to the next level. Obviously, being studying and going to these QB things, doing all the things that you've been doing. But it's that little stuff like, yeah, you could get away because you're athletic enough to do this. But in the interim, if I'm taking pictures of the field, right, and I'm doing that for 2 years, imagine you're not going to have the shock that I had coming into college because I never had to do that. So I'm like, it might not pay dividends right now because they're not trying to trick you, but I'm telling you, as you develop later, you'll see that it's paying dividends. So the one advice that I would have for these quarterbacks is for sure is one, definitely train with people. I would always train with peers. I've trained with Max Duggan that at TCU. I trained with a lot of high level peers that we were competing, obviously, but I learned I took a lot from their games as well. Like even though I felt like I was good, I'm like, if he saw something differently, I'm asking, like, bro, what'd you see
Mhm.
here? Like, what take me through your progression here? So if on just piggybacking off what you said, Brooke, I wish I can go back in time and tell young Jordan, like, you would have tore your hamstring because you ain't better rely on your athleticism for that long. But I'm glad that I get to push that on to the younger kids. It's like, look, this is how you like you don't know if an injury is going to change the thing, but mentally, if you sharp, you're able to compensate for what you may lack or something happening to your athleticism. Because as you get older, something could happen, and or people just get faster, people get bigger, big
Mhm.
stronger, and you're not going to be able to rely on that. So I'm glad you brought that up. But I want to get into my final question, piggybacking off the injury. So you had that good 2017 year. Coming into that next year, there's a lot of anticipation. You already talked about the KP, Kobe, DT, Shea. We had a really, really good defense as well. And then that first game against Fort Hayes, you get hurt. You hurt your elbow and you're out for the year. Take us back. And obviously, this is a mental health podcast. So I want to ask you kind of a mental health related question. How did you deal with that injury? I know that was for a person that's very passionate as you are about the game. You really love your team. I know it ate you up because I was there seeing it firsthand.
Mhm.
But take me back to that. Like, how did it feel initially? How did you work through it? What were the highs and lows of that time, of that injury back in 2018?
So initially, like the day it happened, like during the game, it's like the rest of it's just like a blur. Like I really don't remember much of the rest of that game, or the long bus ride home. I just remember like being completely out of it. Um, and then we get back and go to Columbia, find out that it's tore, and it was just, I mean, it really hit deep. I mean, million things were going through my head. Am I ever going to play again? Then it was, I'm never going to play again. This is, what kills quarterbacks and, people that use their arm, for their whatever position it is. Um, and it was just, yeah, I was hurt for a while, had no motivation for a while too. Was kind of feeling sorry for myself, but I really leaned on my family, and those around me for support. That was the biggest thing. At that time, Logan and I had only been together for about 6 months ish. I don't even know if it was that long. Um, so I really leaned on her, and she was, I mean, an amazing support cast. And I mean, obviously, fast forward now, years later, we're engaged, but that's a whole different topic. But yeah, that was a big thing, is just leaning on my family, leaning on my friends, and my teammates to help me through that time, because that year was tough. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I never got to play a game at Pitt State. Um, that one was always a big one. I always wanted to play in the jungle, and so like going to that game. Oh my God, I remember I was crying before the game even started. Like everyone was running out, warming up for the game and everything, and I'm so hyped up for everyone. But then it just like hit me, and I was just, I remember I was standing right by the upright on our side of the end zone, and I was just like in tears, just was losing it. But that was just my passion for the game, and not being able to be out there. And I think another big thing with that was not being able to be out there with the guys that I went through everything with, going through those rookie lifts with that class. I didn't get to finish my season with the class of guys I came in with. And it felt, like I said, I was feeling sorry for myself for a while, because I was like, this is unfair. Like it's unfair to me. It's unfair to them that we don't get to finish out what we started with. And so that was a big kind of turning point for myself. I remember Logan at one point kind of gave me a good talking to, about how I needed to, recover from this, and I needed to work a little bit harder at it, and stop feeling sorry for myself, um, and yeah, kind of kicked me into gear. I remember, I felt overweight. At that point, I was a little chubby in the gut area, little chubby, and it kind of kicked me into gear. And then after that, I got the in season body back, and was feeling good, rolling into that next year. And obviously, we had the year that we did, and I mean, had amazing cast around everyone. I mean, shoot, offense was amazing. Defense was one of the best defenses that we had in a while to that point too. So it was a good year. A lot of memories as well. So
Sure. The most interesting thing, and it's something that we all share, is how much of a toll an injury can take.
mhm.
So in the NFL, or if you play fantasy, a guy will be out. He'll be out on IR and stuff like that. And your head is like, oh, okay, 3, 4 weeks or whatever. He's going to come right back and it's going to score 20 points for me on my fantasy, right? You just don't think about
Yeah.
it. But on the player side, there's so much doubt, there's so much fear, there's so
Mhm.
much, of everything. Everything runs through your head, healthy, unhealthy, all comes at you at the same time. And to a degree, you're just very vulnerable. And to a lot of players, and that's kind of the gist of the podcast, but in society in general, is how do you perform at that high level, right? And you're able to deal with something like that. How
Mhm.
mentally should you feel? What's the support around you that you can have? So it's awesome to hear that you did have support. And speaking a little bit on myself, you know, one of my biggest supporters was Jordan, of course, because we lived together. But
Absolutely.
I tore my knee, and From my perspective, I tore my knee right before the big season, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
it's right before all the fun, you finally get through all the workouts and everything, and then
Yep.
boom, you're done.
Hmm.
Thanks for playing. You're done. It's over. So I know what you mean. It was a lot of emotion. There was a lot of things going on, and good to hear from you. Same thing with me, having someone like a Jordan around to be
Hmm.
like, at the end of the day, it's just a sport. This isn't the end of your life. This isn't
Hmm.
over. You're not bankrupt now. You're not gonna go live on the street or anything like
Yeah.
that. Life is
Mhm.
still gonna move on.
Yeah.
And I would just say that again for my audience, that and for the viewers, that can't be stated enough. Is that at the end of the day, life is going to go on. So whatever bad happens in your life and what's going on, you just have to take it one day at a time. You have to have that optimism that we always talk about. When things are going bad, how do you respond? All those little football talks and sayings that everyone comes up with, that hits you right in your face when there's an injury, of course. So I guess going on to my final question. So we talked about a lot. One of the bigger things that we talked about was obviously your brothers and the inspiration that they had on you to excel in life and wanting to be better just because of how good that they were. So our season 3, season of separation. As a podcast, we want to separate ourselves from the group, and we like to ask our viewers, or not our viewers, I'm sorry, our guests, how they would like to separate from the group. So my specific question with you is, for your upbringing, and how you made it a purpose to separate yourself from your own brothers, from the crowd around you and everything. How do you carry that moving forward? So nowadays, you don't have your brothers near you. Nowadays, you just have your peers, but everyone has their own place in life. How do you still keep that sort of intensity of saying, I want to better myself every day. I want to do what I can to separate myself and be better and still keep accomplishing things in life, even though I'm not playing college football anymore?
Hmm. Um, well, I think it's kind of similar to sports in this aspect, but wanting to surround yourself with people that do bring you up and want to see you improve your life, because they want to
Mhm.
grow not only by themselves separately, but they want to grow with you as well. One of
Right.
the best relationships that I've had, with a teammate from UCM is actually Cam, KPB. And I talk to Cam all the time, but he's always giving me motivational Monday text. He'll hit me up every Monday. He'll say, he'll say, hey fam, let's have a great start to this week. Let's get this money every week. Just something simple, but stuff like
Mhm.
that. Even if it's just something small, it's him wanting to see me better my life so that we can grow and be better together as well. And then obviously I found a great partner in Logan, and just seeing the way she is with her work and how she wants to keep climbing her ladder at work, and eventually be at the top. It makes me want to be better in my life. It makes me want to help support her as well, even though she doesn't need support. She can handle herself. But that's part of it, is that I did find a great person, that I can spend my life with, and she helps me want to be a better man and improve my life as well. So that's really the biggest thing, is just surrounding yourself with people that have like mindsets as yourself, to where you want to see each other's success as much as you want to see your own. Just showing that love and that care around you, and letting people know when they not only did something great and made you feel great, but also let them know in the tough times when they made you feel not so great as well. Um, but being able to have those uncomfortable conversations, when either they think you're not living up to your fullest potential, or vice versa. That's really the biggest thing, is just surrounding yourself around those people that are going to uplift you and make you want to be better for not only yourself but for them as well.
And that was so perfectly said, bro. I think that encapsulates who Brook Bolles is as an individual, in just that little segment. But in closing, like Kale said, like this is season 3 season of separation. But one of the things that we want to do on this podcast is think, and we've talked about it previously, we don't think that we encourage and show love to our brothers enough. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that I take very personally is anytime I'm able to say I'm proud of somebody, I need to be better. I think I'm really good at it, but sometimes I kind of lack in it. I think as men, we kind of go about life is like, oh, it's going to get done. We got to get it done. Like we're just head down and we're doing a lot of great things, but we don't really get congratulated for that, even though we're doing awesome things and we deserve to get our flowers. So one of the segments we came up, which is a play on my name, is the Jordan Flowers, where we give our guests their flowers, man. And so I want to give you your flowers, bro, particularly not only as a football player, but as a person. One of the things, hell, like we talk about with the injury, I mean, some of the conversations we had, like the thing that you did for me, Brooke, and I don't think we've never talked about this, but you were so lighthearted, like, and I was so hard on myself at that time. Like that was a brutal time. Obviously for me, I'm sitting out 2 years. Remember, I sat out that first year, had another surgery, sat out 2 years. So it was really, really brutal for me to sit back and know, like, I'm questioning, like, am I ever going to come back? Like, questioning, am I going to be good enough? And your lightheartedness and your spirit always kept me up. I'm saying that, like, even like I don't know if you're going to laugh when I say this, but even like you calling me Jay Slow, like our little nicknames for one another, like that, bro, that went so far for me because coming in, it was like, I felt already out of place because it's like, man, I'm not playing. I'm not, how can you come in wanting to prove something? And I wasn't able to do that. But for you, you took a lot of interest in like, not only the football aspect, but you also made me feel good as an individual. Like, bro, like, keep going. Like, even like when I did come back, like giving me tips. I remember one of my videos that I put out when I was transferring, like, hey, bro, just be quicker on this pass or something like that. So it was from afar, bro, not even from afar because we were close, but I watched you and I revered how you came back from your injury and was able to excel. And then also on the humanistic side of it, you were able to be that relief for me when I come in. I knew you had great spirit. And when I was down, it was like, bro, being around Brooke, you're going to be up or you're going to be very, very cheerful. So I want to let you know, bro, how much in that moment I appreciate it. It did so much probably that you probably can never even imagine. And I want you, to know that. So thank you so much, not only for being a podcast, but being a great individual as well.
I appreciate that. It means a lot.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, got another great episode of season 3, season of separation, man. It was a wonderful interview. Another one to catch up with my brother. Might have a couple more on here, bro. That's from that UCM team. We already had Shay on. That was a great episode.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
continue to do the great things that you're doing right now. Congratulations. I didn't even bring it up earlier, hell, but congratulations on your engagement as well, man. That's
Appreciate
a
it.
really, 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 really dope accomplishment. So in wrapping, man, thank you guys for tuning in for another season of Separation episode of Men the Podcast. And see you soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.